Kelly Emerson for ESPN Boston High Schools here at the Tsongas Center for the Super 8 semifinals, where 4 teams battle it out to get one step closer to the title of Best in Massachusetts for high school hockey. Malden Catholic and Springfield Cathedral took the ice first. Late in the first period, Malden Catholic finds the back of the net first as Azar Nazarian feeds Tyler Sifferlin right at the doorstep for the early goal to put the Lancers up 1-0. Moving ahead to the second period, Cathedral, on the power play, Riley Pratson goes top shelf to tie things up at 1-1. Malden would respond before the end of the period. Pat Wen has some fancy stick work, and from there he's got all day in front of the net. He goes glove side to put Malden Catholic back up by 1. Going ahead to the third period, Lancers break out into the offensive end. Austin Goldstein poking in the rebound, but hold on a second, the goal is waved off due to goalie interference, so still just a 1-goal lead for Malden Catholic. However, the Lancers would get that insurance goal later on in the period as Matthew Philippe fires one home from the face-off circle to put Malden up 3-1, and they would go on to win this one by that score. Here with me now is ESPN Boston High School's editor, Scott Barboza. Scott, with this win, the Lancers advance to the finals. This is the third time they're going to be going back, Super 8 champions.
Yeah, it's, we've said it year after year here when the calendar flips over to February. They always play their best hockey, and I think really the story of this tournament so far for them is Tyler Sifferlin has really been a very consistent contributor night in, night out, doing all the little things to help this hockey team win night in, night out here. And, of course, I really think that the thing that kind of decided this game, even though, I really think MC's defense should be applauded here tonight. Pat Wren's goal, I thought, was a huge motivator. Obviously, got them over the hump, on the scoreboard, but also in terms of getting them kind of playing their game. And really in that third period, Cathedral just wasn't able to come back with a counterpunch. I thought Malden Catholic's defense, their pairings, their 5, defensemen that they roll through here consistently were tremendous tonight. Obviously, we talk about Nick Rowley, John McLean a lot, but a lot of those other guys that come into the lineup here, Chris Hopkins, Harrington, they all played very well here tonight. I thought it was a really good team defensive game, and John McLean was very happy about that after this game. Had a pretty positive vibe from him, man that's usually pretty soft-spoken and few and far between with the words, but I think he has to be happy with his team's effort here tonight, and then, looking ahead into Sunday and the Garden.
Now, Tyler Sifferlin's actually going to be playing college hockey here at UMass Lowell.
Yeah, it's been kind of apropos, I guess. The Malden Catholic fan section, after each one of his goals, have kind of been, this is his house, which it will be. Obviously, the Riverhawks going to be skating here tomorrow night in their Hockey East game, and in a little while down the line here, Tyler's going to be playing along with those guys. As I said before, I think he's really elevated his game in the second half of the season, and in particular in this tournament. We've seen it every year. You wait to see who those players are that make a name for themselves on the tournament. And, if we had an all-tournament team per se, Tyler Sifferlin would definitely be a part of that.
Well, moving on to the second game of the evening, we saw a physical, tight-checking game between BC High and Austin Prep. Early scoring opportunity for the Cougars in the first period. Bobo Carpenter from the top of the face-off circle fires on net, but it hits the crossbar, and there would be no other scoring chances in this period. It would remain scoreless until late in the second period when Austin Prep's Eric McAdams comes up along the boards, falls to the ice, but is able to muster enough strength to put the puck past Brandon Payzant, making the score 1-0. Flash ahead to the beginning of the third, where BC High's Patrick Riley comes up on net and goes 5-hole to put it past goalie Elijah Harris to tie things up at 1. Things would remain that way through regulation and 2 periods of overtime. So we blast ahead to the shootout between the two teams, things all knotted up at 1 going into the final frame. Sam Topham hits the deck but finds the back of the net to give BC High a 1-goal advantage. So here we go, last chance for Austin Prep. And it's the sophomore, Eric McAdams, coming up and going glove side again on Payzant to send it further into the shootout. 3 rounds into the sudden death, Tim LaRock up for BC High goes blocker side on Harris, but gets stoned by the goalie to give Austin Prep another shot. That leaves it to the defenseman, J.J. Layton, and the sophomore rips it past Payzant for the game winner as the Cougars return to the finals at the TD Garden for the second year in a row. Scott, Austin Prep, the second team to move on tonight. They did really well in the neutral zone, taking BC High out of their element.
Yeah, I wrote about this a little bit in my preview today, how AP was able to kind of translate what they did against Central Catholic in their closeout game in their first round series and be able to apply it to tonight against BC High with a very mobile, agile defensive core that likes to push the play up. I think Austin Prep won that matchup again, and I think it's, again, a very, like anything in hockey, it's a collaborative effort, and defense starts with the forwards, and sometimes AP was aggressive on the forecheck, but they also won the back-checking battle. I think BC High is a club that you come to expect a lot of the little things from, and there's a little bit of that lacking in their game tonight, in particular in the first two periods. So they ratcheted it up for the third period, but AP was able to really win that battle in the first two periods, keep BC High off the scoreboard and really out of their game until that third period when they, Patrick Riley comes up, they get the goal, they tie it up, and they start feeling it a little bit. But until that moment, I think AP had really won that team defensive game, and that, to me, was the top key for them coming into this game here tonight.
And how about McAdams turning things around in the fifth round of overtime tonight?
Yeah, I mean, talking about Mr. Clutch here tonight, comes up with the first goal, obviously in a game that looked like it might have been scoreless for a very long time. And then, no pressure, kid. Our whole season's literally riding on your stick here, right here. And we talked to both of the coaches after the game. They felt that the ice was a little bit soft here, as you're going to experience anytime in an overtime period. A lot of people in the rink here. So the ice was a little unsettled. So it was kind of keeping it simple for a lot of these shooters here in the shootout tonight. And credit to McAdams for being really cool and steady with the hand in a situation like that and being able to finish against Payson. Then, of course, great story, too, with J.J. Layton. A defenseman. You never think about those defensemen coming out in the shootout, maybe lobbying coach from down the bench, hey, give me a shot here. It was actually, we played so much during the game, was a little bit dehydrated, was kind of hanging out on the bench there for a little bit during the overtime period, and Coach Lewis Finicaro says, hey, you're up, kid. What do you got? And, of course, naturally, game winner, and they're going back to the Garden.
Now, after watching these games tonight, what are your thoughts going into the finals?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, obviously, you think back to last year's matchup, obviously, between these two teams was a pretty even affair until the third period, and then AP actually, in the very last moments of the game, got another goal to make it a one-goal game. It was a great finish, very riveting game there. Of course, these teams both played each other previous this year, even though they're non-league opponents at the Malden Catholic Christy Sereno Christmas Classic, as they have every year. AP was there. That was a championship game. Not such a tight game there. AP at that point in the season, they were really battling the injury bug. We talked about that all year. They weren't really healthy until really the second week of February. This team just kept somehow finding a way to win and put together quality performances even without some of their top scorers in the lineup. They were really kind of fighting it at that point, and I don't really think that was a representative effort from Austin Prep, as you saw it here tonight against BC High. BC High had a pretty convincing win against Austin Prep in the last week of the regular season, and they turned around here tonight. So I'd expect, of course, a much closer game, and again, the keys for this game coming in for Austin Prep: keep up that intensity on the forecheck and the back check. The forwards have been so good controlling that center sheet throughout the tournament here. If they can do that as they did against BC High, I think they'll be in fine shape. And of course, for Malden Catholic, again, it's just I think it's as easy as don't stop. Keep the pedal down, as we've seen through this group, through this entire, Super 8 run. And, of course, what's ahead of these seniors on this team, that, not many, but the seniors that have been here for 4 years have an absolutely incredible, unprecedented ability to close out their high school careers with 4 straight Super 8 titles in the state's preeminent tournament. So that's something pretty special.
And that anticipation will continue to intensify as we get closer to Sunday's Super 8 finals at the TD Garden. So make sure you follow ESPN Boston High Schools for all your game updates. For Scott Barboza, I'm Kelly Emerson.